Little heroes, Joe Smith here again. Where to start on this? Very disturbing news coming out of Joe Smith's home state of Iowa, where Joe Smith was born. Joe Smith grew up. Akram Wadley, a football player, a black football player at the University of Iowa. Joe Smith here used to cheer for every Saturday. When he would score a touchdown, Joe Smith would be jumping up and down, yelling, screaming every Saturday. And a few other players from the University of Iowa football team, previous football team members at the University of Iowa, are suing, have hired a Tulsa, Oklahoma lawyer and are suing University of Iowa for racism in their football program. Okay, first of all, yes, all football teams are racist. That's why most of the team members are black, right? Is Joe Smith right? They're racist because prove they're racist. Most of the team members are black. Okay, well, if you're black and on the team and most of the team is black, then how the F is that effing racist? If anything, it's racist against white people. But, you know, most of these teams, they don't play you or take you on their team just because you're black or just because you're white. They usually go by how good you are at football or whatever other sport it is. It happens to be that more black people are good at football and basketball and more white people are good at golf and tennis and hockey. Well, so be it. It's just kind of whatever the kids kind of choose to play when they're growing up, or what part of the country or what country they grow up in, and what sport's popular. A lot of white people play soccer because a lot of white people grew up in places where soccer is popular. And then there's also a lot of other countries that are predominantly black, and they have predominantly black soccer players in those countries. Genetics just happen to mean that on average black people or some black people happen to be taller than white people, so NBA is mostly black just because genetics for whatever reason make more black people taller than white people. There's still some tall white people though, and there's still some short black people. But don't think the NBA or any of the leagues are picking their players just because of the color of the skin. They're picking the players based on previous achievements in their college or high school careers or time in college or high school, whatever. And they're basically going off that. And they have tryouts and then either make the team or you don't. Everyone's got an equal opportunity to make the team. But these players, and Akram Wadley, he was kind of like a second string surprise or that. Back when he was playing, he wasn't a starter right away anyways. He's just kind of like a second stringer that got put in after someone else, forget who it was, got injured and couldn't play for the rest of the season. So then Akram Wadley got put in to take his place, and Akram Wadley like really surprised everyone, really shined, and that's just remarkable. That's just like great that he did. And Joe Smith was just very happy that he got the opportunity to fill in for someone else, even though he's like a younger underclassman, junior or whatever, or sophomore or something at the time. And he got the opportunity to go in there, and he really showed everyone what he could do. And then by the time he was like a senior, that he was a starter. So he was like the underdog that showed that he could, that proved everyone that he was better than the older starters or whatever that he filled in for, and he like became a starter himself. So that's kind of what makes this even more sad or disturbing or that. But Akram Wadley and these other players are suing over racism. They're suing for lost earning potential because apparently they didn't qualify or they didn't make the NFL draft. And don't know how many youth guys out there, youth people out there know this, but every year for about the last 30 years or something, University of Iowa, even though they might not have like superstar players, even though they might not have a first round draft or only one first round draft player, but usually University of Iowa sends more people to the NFL every year, or almost as many or more than any other team, any other college team. So every year for the past 30 years, the University of Iowa, even though there might not be anyone in the first round draft, or only one person that's drafted in the first round, still sends a ton of their players to the NFL through the NFL draft. Well, apparently these players here, none of them were drafted in the NFL, and all but Akram actually transferred to some other college for their senior year or their 5th year of eligibility and finished their college football career somewhere else. And now they're mad because apparently when they're being recruited by the University of Iowa, they give them a free scholarship by the University of Iowa. They're told that, well, we send a lot of people to the NFL. Well, after their 3 or 4 years at University of Iowa, they still hadn't got picked by the NFL. Some who might have redshirted as freshmen got a 5th year eligibility and went to some other college, and that didn't pan out either. They still didn't get picked for the NFL from that other college because they just weren't good enough. But they're unwilling to accept the fact that they just weren't good enough. And they're mad that all these other people from the University of Iowa got drafted to the NFL and they didn't. So now they're suing the University of Iowa because they didn't get drafted to the NFL, because they're not getting these multi-million-dollar contracts in the NFL. And they're claiming that the whole reason why they did it is because they're black. When in reality, probably 80% of the people from Iowa or any other college that go to the NFL are black. It's just sickening. You know, so what? Not everyone gets picked. Move on to something else. And now also, they're suing because some former black athletes at University of Iowa, after they went 4 years there, still did not graduate with a college degree because they didn't take enough classes. or they didn't pass enough classes and have enough credits. And they're saying that's University of Iowa's fault, that they should pass these students just because they're a black athlete, even though their grades weren't up to par. Well, what happened to when your grades aren't up to par? You don't even get to freaking play. Like, well, you're going to sit out a couple games until you get your grades up to par. That's how it used to be. But now it's like, well, these black people went to your college, and after 4 years of playing football with you, they didn't graduate because they didn't take enough classes, or because they didn't have enough passing grades in those classes. Well, go back for a 5th year and take some more classes, or retake those classes, and don't play sports or ball. Maybe you shouldn't have played ball in the first place. Maybe you should just concentrate on your classes. You know, back 20 years ago, Iowa State University, a couple 100 miles, or 100 miles, whatever, away from Iowa City, their names, where Joe Smith grew up. Iowa State University had a really good basketball team going on at the time. Made the, Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or something, their men's basketball team that year. Almost made the Final Four. But then Marcus Pfizer, one of their star players, the big guy, the big Marcus Pfizer, he was a junior that year. And he decided to go on to the Chicago Bulls. He entered the NBA draft. He got drafted by the Chicago Bulls first round and wanted to make millions playing in the NBA for the Bulls. Or don't know if he played for other teams. Joe Smith don't watch the pro sports and don't follow people after college. But yes, he ended up making a ton of money. He was successful in the NBA. He left college as a junior. He never finished his degree, never got a degree from Iowa State University. He's considered a college dropout. But he made a ton of money in the NBA. Well, he wasn't too concerned about getting a college degree. And you know what? Most of these other sports players aren't either. They're just there to get some exposure at a power conference or whatever they're called, like the Big 10, Big 12, Pac-28, or however many teams it's up to now, SEC, ACC, or whatever, depending on the sport, Big East. They're just there to get national recognition. So a pro team will draft them, or that. And as far as they're concerned, the sooner a pro team drafts them, the better. If they get a contract offer when they're a freshman or a sophomore or something, boom, they're gone. They don't give a shit about their college education or college degree. You know, these people soon probably don't either. If they did, they probably would put more effort towards it and actually got it. Or they would have went back for a 5th year and finished it and took the rest of the classes they needed. That's basically what Joe Smith did. Joe Smith kind of dropped out of 9th grade and then got a GED and worked construction for a year, and then went to this little community tech school, a little 2-year program, but ended up going part-time for 3 years because of the ING and working and all that. And it just took Joe Smith, and plus Joe Smith kind of struggled with some of the classes because Joe Smith wasn't like book smart, or like some of those classes that were requirements to graduate. So Joe Smith had to take a few a second time, but then the teachers kind of worked extra hard with Joe Smith the second time around to make sure he passed the second time. And the algebra teacher even made it so Joe Smith only had to answer half as many questions on the test the second time around taking the class. Because Joe Smith kind of was able to eventually figure the equations and the math problems out and all that in the college algebra class. It just took Joe Smith here like a really long time because it wasn't something that Joe Smith was too good at. So after failing the first year and taking it the second year, by end of the first by the end of the midterm or whatever, was failing again. Teacher sat down with Joe Smith and it was like, well, you already failed this once. I don't want you to fail again. What's the problem here? Or that, like, she said, I know you can figure these out. The ones that you do, you usually get them right. And Joe Smith just said, yeah, it just takes time. Joe Smith, you're slow. And she's like, well, how about this? On the test, usually have like two of the same questions. So like problem 1 and 2 are basically same type of problems. 2 or 3 and 4 are same type of problems. 5 and 6 are same type of problems. So she's like, I'll just have you do the odd number questions on the test. They'll be worth double the points, so if you miss one, you lose 2 points. If you get one right, you get 2 points instead of them being 1 point each. So kind of had the option to get them right and get double the score and pass, or get them wrong and lose double the points and fail. And it turned out it worked out. Joe Smith was able to kind of get most, if not all, the tests done in the allowed time, and ended up passing the class with like a D or that, but still passed. Still able to graduate. And the University of Iowa has issued that any student athlete or any other past student that left without getting a degree to come back to the university, and they would help them finish their requirements needed to get the degree. And, and something else that one of these former black athletes have mentioned in the lawsuits that they were complaining about, rap music wasn't allowed in the football building or that. Well, and here's kind of thing that Kirk Ferentz and the University of Iowa football program and all their sports programs, they're very conservative. Maybe they don't want their players listening to, slap that hoe, rob that bank, shoot that nigga, whatever your lyrics are. They don't want that. It's like, well, they don't want it. You're on their property. You're playing by their rules now. Don't like the rules, leave. Go play football somewhere else. Go start your own college. And someone else was complaining in the lawsuit that he was punished unfairly by the team and has, forget exactly what happened, either had to sit out some games or something or other. But he was saying that he was punished unfairly by the team after he got a DUI. And the DUI charges were eventually dropped or dismissed in court or something, but he claims he was punished unfairly by the team. Well, again, the University of Iowa is a very conservative college, sports programs. They don't teach you how to be a football superstar or basketball superstar. They teach you how to be a man and be responsible. And if you're getting arrested for a DUI, they're like, well, why were you even out that night or something, or what's the deal or that? Uh, don't know the details. Joe Smith don't know the exact details of that particular player's instance or that. Maybe the University of Iowa kind of jumped the gun there and should have waited till the court hearing or that. But here's the thing: you get pulled over and arrested for DUI, you don't have the court hearing for 6 to 9 months later, and by then football season's over. And they want to make sure that none of their other players are out getting arrested with DUIs. So they're setting an example: don't get arrested for DUI. If he was arrested for DUI, then apparently he failed some sort of sobriety test and they had some sort of reason for arresting him. Guessing, maybe not, but guessing maybe. So even though he kind of got it dropped later on in court or something, maybe there was a reason why he got arrested in the first place. Don't know. Just speculating here. So. The University of Iowa wants their players to be the best upstanding citizens of community. And if you happen to be good at football or basketball or other sports, then that's the added bonus. But their priority isn't making you good at sports. Their priority isn't making you NBA or NFL draft pick. Their priority is making you an upstanding member of community. One of their players actually declined a pro sport deal to a pro NFL contract or whatever because he wanted to be a doctor. He was going there for a doctor. He's playing a fifth year. He got fifth-year eligibility because he redshirted as freshman. And he was like a pre-med student or something at the time. They kept talking about it on ESPN every week during the Iowa games. Like, well, this young man here, he ain't your average football player. This young man's pre-med. He's like one of the stars of the team, and he's pre-med. He's going to be a doctor. He's already said he has no interest in the NFL. He's just playing here in college, and once he finishes college, he's going to be a doctor no matter what the NFL offers him. And that's kind of what the Iowa sports program is all about. Making people successful. Not necessarily at sports, but successful. And if you didn't get an NFL contract after leaving the college, and, well, maybe you weren't quite good enough. A lot of people aren't. Fewer people go to the NFL from college football than you might think. A lot of people don't. That's why you kind of get that degree too. And you're supposed to kind of focus on going into that career field of your degree. And then if you happen to get an NFL contract, well, then you have the option to go play ball a few more years. But too many kids, and maybe the media is partially to blame for that. In society, they're like, well, these sports players are the heroes. It's like if a CEO makes $10 million a year because they gave 1 million people a job. So those 1 million people are now not homeless anymore and can feed their kids and put their kids through college. And those people are evil. But if someone makes $1 million a year playing basketball or football, let's get down on our hands and knees and worship them. And that's what's wrong with American society. We're worshiping the wrong people. And now when someone thinks that they should have got that sports superstar hero status and don't. Well, they're filing stupid lawsuits. Screw Ack and Wally and the mothers. You really let Joe Smith down. Go Kirk Ferentz, go Iowa Hawkeyes. Joe Smith signing out.